Our first speaker for the day and the host for the day, I am delighted to introduce Stephan, Managing Director of EMEA InMoment. Now, Stephan is a master of integration. He's brought together disparate country organisations and built a really effective international machine. Stephan is a regular speaker at events globally and has been published, I dread to think how many times, Stephan, a number of articles that you've written. So who better to help us really unlock this theme of integrated CX and how InMoment supports organisations leveraging all their customer signals to drive revenue and retention. Stephan, over to you.
Thank you, Claire, and thanks everyone for coming. Thank you and welcome to this year's XI Forum. It's been quite a struggle 10 days ago when we heard of the strike and we were like, oh gosh, by the way, last year we had exactly the same 10 days ahead of the XI Forum, we had a strike being announced. The Queen died a day later and it was called off. There is no Queen around at this point, I guess, right? So I'm really glad we got here and we got so many still making it. So thanks for supporting it. I think we'll have a great day ahead. So before we get into this day and all the topics and the great speakers, let me just briefly give you an overview of who InMoment is, just a couple of minutes, and then get you a little bit into the theme of integrated CX that so many of us touch from various angles today. So briefly about InMoment, those of you that don't know InMoment, we're one of the global leaders in customer experience. We are a solution provider of both software and services, and we are in more than 20 countries around the world. We actually run programs in over 100 countries around the globe with about 1,700 employees that we have. We do have a lot of people that support programs from all across the industry. We actually pride ourselves in having 8 of the 10 largest customers in all of these industries that we're focusing on. Effectively, globally, we are supporting more than 2,000 of the greatest brands that across multiple industries. So what's really making us proud though is, and when we know that we're good, is when our clients are successful, right? So we take pride in the fact that we're not only having all these large customers and run their programs for many years, we are actually really proud of the fact that we have the most awards together with our customers for the success that they see from their programs. What I'm also really proud of specifically is how users are rating us. So if you look at the outcomes of partnering with solution providers, we're looking at the G2 crowd analysts, we're actually getting the highest valuation of all CX vendors. So we're really pleased with that. Why is that the case? I believe it's specifically the case because we deliver software and services. We are a solution provider that really helps everyone, every organization to mature their CX and really ensure that you're consistently improving your delivery of customer experience across your customer base. So that is, I think, the recipe for our success, and we deliver that also in partnership with NPSX, and I'm really pleased for them to support us here and generally our customers as well. Also, what's really most important, I think, is that this unique partner approach that we have delivered through our software and services really results in a greater return on investment. So when you look at customers, users of the different VOC platforms and providers, those users are reporting back how quickly they see return on investment, and we're pleased that those working with us are the fastest to see return on investment. So that's obviously what we take pride of. in. Why is this important? ROI is important. You told us that a return on investment is important. Prior to the event, we've sent out a survey asking you what's the topic, what's keeping you up at night, what's the most important for the next 12 months. And you told us that the most important thing for you is to actually deliver ROI through a program. So let's briefly talk about that, and because I do think the theme of the day that we want to get into is so critical to actually get there. So the ROI, how do we drive that? So many organizations are starting with an NPS measurement program, but what you really want to get to is a culture of customer centricity, and in order to get there, you need to turn a program and a measurement program into an NPS system that really supports that customer centricity. Let's briefly talk about how you can actually get there and what the key ingredient is actually to mature your program from a pure measurement program. Because most of the programs, when they start for the first time, they start with a transactional survey at a single point in time. First and foremost, we believe, obviously, starting the journey is with a measurement program. But at the same time, one data point is not enough, right? And Claire mentioned that earlier. It's noisy. There are so many signals out there. And to make sense out of those is the art of taking you into a higher level of maturity. So let's talk about most of the programs today. So when you look at the vast majority of CX programs that we get engaged with for the first time, we see that customers are measuring customer experience by sending out surveys after they have had a specific event with a customer, so transactional customer experience programs. But really, when you look at the entirety of your customers, you start at a point where you don't have details for 20% of your customer base. So already you're starting at a smaller customer base. And then you have actually a survey fatigue rules in place because you don't want to survey the same people all the time. So you lose another 20% of your base. And then across all the industries, the average response rate is about 10%. So what you really do today, you hear from about 6% of your customer base only, and you are making decisions based on a very small number of people's feedback, right? So this is really important. You need to get beyond just that 6%. So how do you build on that critical foundation? We don't want to stop you sending out surveys, but we do want you to think about how you go beyond that, right? So what you need to do is taking us into the world of integrated CX, which is the theme of the day. So you got to bring together various signals from different places in the organization. So you start obviously with your targeted surveys, but you have to tap into other data. So ratings and reviews is critical, right? So ratings and reviews, you get a lot of feedback from customers that otherwise don't respond to surveys anymore. And those of us having kids and young friends and so on and so forth around us know that they often do not participate in surveys anymore. But they are posting out there and they are influencing others. So in order to understand customer acquisition, it's so critical really to understand social reviews. And I know we have a speaker, Eric, sharing more about that in a few minutes. You also have people calling on you with issues, complaints, etc. And you got to take the call center scripts in. So there are easy ways to do this these days. Service tickets, all kind of chats and messenger applications can be taken in to get a more holistic picture of your customer base. So that is so critical to turn that 10% into 50%. So now you understand half of your customer base. So that's the first learning, I hope, for everyone. That's so critical. Get to a point where you go beyond surveys to really bring in all the unstructured data. And why is that so important? Not to get only solicited feedback, but also unsolicited feedback. 85% of customer data today is unstructured, and that's growing at an over 50% growth rate. So it's becoming more and more important to really get behind your data and unstructured data, and therefore unsolicited feedback, to get a holistic view. So make sure that that is the case. Also, just that, hey, that's great, right? We have 5 times more feedback from customers if you do that. But what about the other 50%, right? So you're still at 50% of your customer base only. So you need to find ways to actually get a picture of your entire customer base. So how do you do that? It's really about bringing in predictive analytics to understand your entire customer base. And I know we have Stan also talking about that. And that is really the next secret. You need to get to your entire customer base. So use AI and predictive analytics to understand and predict the behaviors and attitudes of your entire customer base. And lastly, you obviously need platforms like the InMoment platform that allows you to disseminate data across the organization and democratize the data across everyone, because we're often seeing that organizations have the data, but they are in data silos, right? And you got the operations team working with operational data and finance team with financial data, but they don't bring it together. And that's what you really need to do to ensure that you take an integrated look of your entire customer experience. So here we are. If you do that right, if you bring in all that unsolicited feedback and unstructured data, if you democratize the data across the organization, then you are in a good spot to actually leverage what we call integrated CX, with stronger signals, with richer insights, and smarter actions that you can take from that data. So that's the theme of the day, because that is where you get to the ROI that you told us is so important to get to. So according to Forrester and PwC, those companies that do a good job in aligning teams around the entirety of their data have a 94% higher NPS. They get an 89% higher retention rate, 93% more profitable, and they have a 2.4 times higher revenue. So important. So that's what we hear about in the coming presentations. So thanks everyone for supporting us here and being here. And as Claire said, I think, for me, it's always important to take away 3 actions. Also, take away 3 business cards and new names that you can call on, because that is what we're here for, right? It's about the learning, but it's also about the network.